And welcome to my on-campus office. I am in Sisliff 111. If you ever feel the need to come and find me, feel free. I am in my office hours Mondays and Wednesdays from 2 to 3:30. I am Dr. Elizabeth Dudash Buskirk, and I will be taking you on this incredibly exciting journey through 2,500 years of rhetoric, the study of what it is, the study of what it does, why we still need it, and why we still study it, actually. So, before we begin that, there are a few things I'm just wanting to let you know about me. First of all, it's really hard to get to know you when I'm teaching an asynchronous online class. Personally, I find that students who come into my classroom have a better overall educational experience. However, I will do my best to make this experience for you as educational as possible and hopefully as successful as possible. I very rarely have a situation where I have a student who fails. My aim is to get you all through this class, passing, maybe even with an A. And I sound like I'm losing my voice, but I don't feel like I am, so apologies. So today I already did my first lecture in class for rhetorical theory, COM 350. And today what I want to do is sort of recreate that lecture. However, what I'm going to be doing going forward is I will be recording my in-class lectures and then posting them for you. The reason for that is that way I know you're getting exactly the same information, the same examples, the same stories, everything as my in-class students. That also means that all my lectures will be fresh. It also means that you'll hear the questions that those students ask and the answers to them, and maybe you were thinking, I wanted to ask the question too. So hopefully it'll be beneficial to you. Now, I did this last year and I asked for feedback on when I did the recording separately versus when I recorded my in-class lecture, and I didn't really get a lot of feedback. So if my recordings in the classroom are not, technically good enough, if you can't hear, if there's a difficulty with them versus me talking to my camera like I am right now, please make sure you let me know so that we can adjust. And it is quite possible that my phone will not pick up all of the sound, or it won't convey the lecture the same way that I want it to. So that is quite possible. I am well aware of that. And so please, if there's a problem with my lecture recordings that are in class, let me know and I'll do it differently. I will do them separately, and that's totally okay. This is just to save, honestly, to save me a little bit of time, but it's not that difficult. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you may or may not be aware that all of your quote unquote lectures are available for you on your Brightspace right now. And the thing about that is that I want to warn you about is that those are the lectures from last year. So they will have different dates. They will not be exactly the same. And I will be posting every Monday and Wednesday a new lecture. Now, that means you can watch any of my lectures. You can watch all of my lectures. If you go onto YouTube, my handle, just like my email address at Yahoo, is KRITIK 1999. Essentially, it's critic with K's 1999. Obviously, I established it in 1999, so a quarter of a century ago. And if you look for my handle, you'll find my YouTube channel. You can follow it if you want. You don't have to. I have people who subscribe to it for the semester so that they know when a new video comes out. That's fine. You can do that. I will put them up on Brightspace either way. The other thing that's available on my YouTube channel are all my lectures from every year that I've been teaching this course online, which I believe I'm going on like year 8. So there are all different hair colors that appear on my head throughout the years. But you're more than welcome if, for example, you don't really understand, let's just use a hypothetical, the lecture on Kenneth Burke, that doesn't come up for a couple months, but let's say that you don't understand the lecture. You could go look for another version of that lecture. The basics are going to be the same. The information you need is going to be the same. It may just be explained a different way. You're more than welcome to do that. You are also invited to use the book and my lectures as a cure for any insomnia you might be having. I'm telling you, it puts dogs and babies to sleep right away. So sometimes I use them for me to go to sleep. So feel free to utilize it that way. But for the purposes of the course, in order for you to pass this course, in order for you to do really, really well in this course, it is not going to be difficult if you read, you watch the lectures in whatever order you do that. If you want to read first and then listen to the lecture, if you want to listen to the lecture, then read. If you want to listen to a lecture, read, and then listen to the lecture again, that's fine too. It's completely up to you and how much you want to put in for your educational experience, what you need, okay? So all of that is available to you right now. It's on the YouTube channel and it's on Brightspace. But I will be producing new videos every day that I meet with my class. Hopefully that will get you a plethora of ways to learn, to get explanations, to answer questions that you might have. Okay? That is the goal. It's not you have to go watch all of them all the time. You could completely ignore every video I have out already and only watch the ones that I post over the course of the next several months. That is entirely up to you. And I'm okay with it, obviously, because that's how the course is set up. So I'm trying to help you, make it easier on you. Also, the readings, I just did the math over the semester because people complain about how much reading I assign. And I find that funny. So I went and I did the math, and using the same textbook, just different iterations, if I go by pages, I am assigning about 15% of what I assigned when I first started teaching at Missouri State, which was in 2006. So I'm coming up on my 20th anniversary here at Missouri State, and I have adapted and changed over time for a number of reasons. There are things that we learn that you guys don't need to know, just extraneous information that we give you. The readings, they need to be as long as they were. The readings you have now are more Americanized than they ever did before. Again, same book, same editors, same publisher. They've just cut down and streamlined the work a little bit for you. So while I still assign a lot of reading, it is literally a fraction of what I used to. And one of the reasons for that too is the availability of my lectures. You don't have to come into the classroom to hear my lectures anymore. And I know that probably seems silly to you, but as few as 10 years ago, we didn't really have the technology down yet to where you could have a completely lecture-based course online. So we've been experimenting for a few decades, but really just in the last 10 years did we really get it to where we could reliably produce our own lectures on video, and you would reliably have access to it. So lots of changes have happened. And as a Gen Xer, I'm not a big fan of change. However, Gen Xers also have an attitude of whatever. So I try to adapt and work with you in the best way that this will make sense. What do you need to know about me? Let's see. If I don't get an email from you, or I should say, if you don't get an email back from me about something where you asked me a question that's important that you need an answer to, if I don't respond within 24 hours on a weekday, give me 48 hours on the weekends, just because I don't always check on Saturday and Sunday. But if you don't get a response from me in 24 to 48 hours, you can email again, or you can send me a text, and you have my personal phone number, and I turn it off when I go to bed. Nobody wakes me up. Sometimes I'm up at 4 a.m. Sometimes I'm up at 7 p.m. Who knows? So feel free to text whenever. You're not going to wake me up or disturb me. That's what it's there for. And just say, hey, this is so and so, and I sent you an email. And I will go and find it. And a lot of times, a few times it's been like, well, I don't have it. But more often than not, what it is that it went to my bulk folder or my junk folder. And even though you're emailing me from a MissouriState.edu address, for some reason, they end up there. So do not assume I'm just lazy and slow. Please assume that I will respond to you if there needs to be a response. And that I will get back with you. But I need to know you sent the email. I know the generation does not like email, and you guys don't like conversation, and you don't like texting, and you don't like group texts. I don't know what to tell you. So email is the most reliable. Text me if I don't respond. Hopefully that will help. Also, another thing that you need to know about me is that I'm not the quickest on grading. I try to do everything within 2 weeks. But sometimes, life happens. So, anticipate your grade within a week. If not within a week, definitely within 2. If it's going to go beyond that, I will be talking to you about it. And I don't mean you individually, I mean you generally, because something happened and I couldn't get it done or something like that. So I will keep you aware. So if you're sitting there going, this thing has not been graded yet, it's been up there for a month and a half, definitely talk to me about it, because that leads me to my 4th thing. What we also need to know about this class is that Brightspace, as much as it's better than Blackboard, isn't perfect. There are buttons I have to push and things I have to do that I never had to do before on Blackboard. And sometimes I forget to do them, like release grades, for example. I've never had to push a button to publish grades separately from just entering the grades. Now I do. Do I know about that now? Absolutely. So it shouldn't be a problem. However, if you're not seeing a grade, it is possible that there is some reason why you're not seeing that grade that has nothing to do with, I just didn't get them done. I usually announce when I do get them done, even though you get it, it pops up on your Brightspace. I will usually say, okay, everybody, I graded everything. Let me know if you don't have a grade, because that's an important check in the system. So please check when I do that. All right. If we do that, I think we're going to be really, really just fine. Now, let's address some rumors about this class. Yes, there's a lot of reading. Yes, I am not the most exciting lecturer. I often tell jokes that don't land because I'm talking to a camera. So another reason for using that recorded lecture plan is to help the conversational portion of the lecture be a little bit more evident, as opposed to me just talking to a camera where I have no response. I have no idea if people are getting the message or not. I can't answer questions. So that helps with that. That's another reason to do that record in the classroom thing if we can. If we can't, we can't. But we're going to give it a shot again this semester. Let's see, is there anything else you need to know? Oh, yeah. This class, I've heard that I write trick questions on the exams. All right, so your exams, big secret, your exams are available to you for a week, 7 days. You can take that exam whenever you want, all at once, in pieces. I don't care. You can use your book, you can use your notes, you can use my lectures, you can use my old lectures, you can use old notes. I don't care. However, I will tell you this. If you Google a question on my exam, I can almost guarantee you, you will not get the correct answer for this course. Will you get an answer? Yes. Will it be a right or a correct answer? It might be a correct answer. It might be a correct answer, but it won't be the right answer. And the reason for that is that words have multiple meanings and definitions, and in the real world or the internet world or whatever you want to call it, in AI world, the context of the answer is missing. The only way to get the context for the answer is by the lecture, the book, etc. Things that come from the course. So when there's a question on the exam, it is intended to be, what is the correct answer based on our course, not based on what you first found on Grok or whatever. Okay, so keep that in mind, that there is a big difference between a correct answer and the right answer. And it's all about the context and the goal. So I don't know if those are my trick questions or not. I do multiple choice questions, and to me, all multiple choice questions are, in fact, trick questions, because you could get really, really close and still miss it. The thing about it is, the exams are just there to make sure you're reading, make sure you're watching the lectures, make sure you know where to find the right answers, okay? That's all they're there for. So if you miss a few points here and there, not a big deal. Here's why. The whole class is out of 1,000 points. If you miss 5 points on an exam or 10 points on an exam, it's 10 points out of 1,000. You still have 990 points. In other words, you still have 90 points before you're going to drop below an A. You still have 190 points before you drop below a B range grade. So you're good, okay? We don't need to be perfect all the time. What we need to do is to learn, not memorize. We need to be educated, not just taught. So that's where that comes from. Finally, trick questions. Somebody actually told me this last semester that one of my trick questions was this. When I do have short answers on the exam, and it's made up of multiple choice and short answer, always, all of my exams are, I write, please list and define, I don't know, we'll use an example, the 5 canons of rhetoric, or list and define the 3 artificial proofs, whatever it is. And I said, how is that a trick question? And they're like, because it's a 2-part question. And I'm like, okay, I guess, but I'm not changing those. So the only instructions I've ever put on my exams, ever, in the 30 years I've been teaching, the only thing I've ever put on my exams is make sure you read the entirety of the question and answer it. That's it. That's all the instruction you need. Okay. So hopefully, not everybody's going to score perfect on the exams, but you shouldn't fail. There shouldn't be like mass issue here. And if there is, we will figure out what's going on and why you're getting the grade you're getting. Most of the times it's unfortunate, but most times it's because somebody just didn't read the question, or because they Googled the answers. Again, don't do that. All right. You'll be fine. So let's see. Is there anything else you need to know about me? I am a Pittsburgh fan. So tonight's big game is big for me. Which means I'll be out at a bar. I don't drink, but I'll be at a bar that has really, really good pickle slices, fried pickles, and watching the game. I am a diabetic, and I have a diabetic alert dog. Today is his first day at work, and he is asleep under my desk right now. Apparently, it was really exhausting going to one class for him already. So in case you ever see or hear something weird, or I reach under my desk, most likely dealing with the dog. I also have multiple autoimmune disorders that come along with that. So there are times when I will say, hey, online, this isn't really a big deal because you don't, I can do these recordings when I want to, but sometimes if I have to cancel a class, I will still do the recording. And that way my class that's in class and you will still get the lecture. So that doesn't happen often. I don't think that's going to be a really big deal, but my illness stops me from doing physical things. Very rarely does it interfere with an online course. So hopefully that won't be a problem. Let's see, anything else you need to know about me? Hopefully I'm approachable. Maybe I don't look it, but hopefully I'm approachable. And you are welcome to call me, text me, email me, ask for a Zoom meeting, whatever. We will work it out. I will talk to you about anything. I just ran into a student in the hallway who said, hey, Dr. Dudak. And I was like, I don't know you. He goes, well, we had like 5 phone calls last year when I took online 350. And I was like, oh, and then, I knew what paper he wrote. We talked about what kind of experience that was for him. And of course, he knew what I looked like, and I had no idea who he was. But it was really nice to meet somebody that I only dealt with online, who happened to be on campus. And not all of you are, and not all of you will ever be. And so, you know, maybe we could do a Zoom call. Maybe we could do something where we can actually interact. You let me know what you're comfortable with, and we'll make it happen. All right. So what did we talk about today in my class, or in in the face-to-face class? Essentially what I did was I introduced a timeline, which I'm going to be putting up online for you. So I don't have a whiteboard behind me, so I can't draw it for you the way I did in class, but I'm going to be putting it up online for you. And that timeline just basically shows the generic time eras, basically, that we're going to be going through. We're going to start in about 500 BCE, before the Common Era. We're going to go all the way up until now, today, and we'll do that in 4 months. And it's a history of philosophy about rhetoric, and I can't think of anything more boring, aside from my personal stories, than that, right? And it can be incredibly boring. However, it hopefully will also apply. Hopefully we will find things to talk about in pop culture, in our current communication systems, in our current media, including new media like social media. Hopefully we'll find examples that we can use. We begin by knowing this. Rhetoric, according to Aristotle, and he's the one whose definition we're going to use to create this course around. So everything that we talk about from here on out is going to be in relation to this definition of rhetoric. And that just gives us like an anchor or a grounding or a starting point. You don't have to agree with the definition, but it's one thing that we can all start with. It's a starting point, right? And Aristotle's definition of rhetoric is the art or skill of knowing. So there's 3 parts to it. An art or skill of knowing. It's a skill of understanding. Second part, in any particular situation. So any given situation. Third part, all the means of persuasion. All the means of persuasion. That doesn't just include public speaking 101. That includes power, relationships. That includes the environment, the context, the time period, current events, all of the means of persuasion. So it's the art or skill of knowing in any particular situation all the means of persuasion. We're going to start with that. That will be on every single exam. I want to say that again. That will be on every single exam. I don't care what order you put those in. I don't care what words you use. But the idea that it's an art or skill of knowing in any given situation, all the means of persuasion. Okay? You need those 3 parts. That's all you need. I tell you that because there are times when we get to the end of the semester and I put that question on the final exam, which none of my exams are comprehensive. They're all based on 3 specific time periods, as you can see in the syllabus. Sometimes people still don't get that answer correct on the 3rd exam, and I'm just like, how? So I want you to do well in this class, and I'm going to give you all the tools that I can to make sure that you do well in this class. You have a first assignment, and that assignment is very simply, and I think you have like 2 weeks to do it. That assignment is just to tell me where you've experienced the word rhetoric, or if you've experienced the word rhetoric. What was it? What are your feelings about it? What do people think generally when we say the word rhetoric? Why do we spend a semester studying it is what's going to come from me next. So I want to know from you what your experience has been like with that word, if you've had any experience. And I had students today, they all said, oh no, we've never used that word, we don't know that word, we've never experienced that word, or we've heard it in passing or something like that. And then somebody said, well, I mean, I've heard somebody say, like, they're just spewing rhetoric. And I said, and when do you usually hear that? And they said, in politics. And then I said, and spewing rhetoric, that's not good, right? That's a negative. And they said, yes. And I said, so normally we hear about it only in the negative, that rhetoric is empty, that it's lies, that it's just flowery language. But that's not the case. So we're going to actually start with the premise that it is a highly involved skill of knowing, in a particular instance, all the means of persuasion. That means that we are going to engage in critical thinking about what we hear. Part of that critical thinking might be, okay, that person who is talking right now is saying absolutely nothing meaningful. That's part of critical thinking. But there's a deeper part of critical thinking that this course wants to get at and that we want to learn. The other thing you need to know about Aristotle's definition of rhetoric, and this is going to be true for almost every theorist that we study over the course of the next couple months, is that rhetoric is about mass influence. So it's not about interpersonal persuasion. It's not about small group discussion. It's about mass influence. So you have to, if it's rhetoric, it is not necessarily through a mass media channel, but it is public and it has mass influence, which might mean you're doing a public speaking gig for 25 people, but you've influenced all of them. That's considered mass influence, as opposed to a conversation or an argument that you witness between 2 or 3 people. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So what you need to know from today is that there will be a timeline coming up that may or may not, hopefully it will, help you follow through the course through until the end of the course, just with some general ideas about the time periods that we're going to be studying. 2, the definition of rhetoric, the art or skill of knowing in any particular instance all the means of persuasion, from Aristotle. That's Aristotle's definition of rhetoric. And that when we talk about rhetoric, we're talking about mass influence. We're not talking about interpersonal or small group or discussion necessarily. We're talking about mass persuasion and the influence that comes from that, and understanding how mass influence happens and being able to critically analyze and think about that. By the end of the semester, we will be doing a rhetorical criticism where you will be analyzing something from mass media, something, a film, a song lyric, a poem, something that is public and we all have access to, an album, a song, whatever, a book, a particular character arc, 15 seasons of Supernatural. Just kidding. I love Supernatural. Just so you know, I know that that's passe. And, you know, most of you probably didn't watch it, but I'm a huge fan. So it runs 24/7 in the back of my house. My husband loves me very much. He tolerates it. So the idea that you could, in one 5 to 10 page paper, analyze an entire series, not likely. But pretty much we're going to be able to do whatever you want. And I want you to make sure that over the course of the semester, you're thinking about the things that interest you and how this stuff applies to what you do and what you want to do. So I know every single comm studies person has to take this course, and that you all have diverse experiences, diverse knowledge, and you want to do different things. So I want to learn too, which means I need you to give me something in return. So your assignments, that's how I'm going to learn about you. That's how I'm going to learn in this class. Very excited. Last year I had somebody online, I was telling you about that student I talked to. We ended up talking about his paper, and he explored what's known as the Luddites. And if you haven't heard the term before, a Luddite, it's from like Renaissance era, I think. People, or no, I guess it would be industrial, sort of the Industrial Revolution era. People did not like the machinery replacing them. They didn't want technology to replace them. And we are actually having these same conversations about AI right now, right? We're artificial intelligence. We're having those same conversations about AI. That we don't want the human brain to be replaced by artificial intelligence. And those people who resisted the technology and the change. They were called Luddites, Luddites. I don't know why I'm spelling it for you. I doubt you're going to go Google it. But the point is, he wanted to write a paper about our resistance to AI, and he was able to do it. And I was so excited that he was able to write about something that he actually was passionate about, he cared about. So anyway, hopefully that helps you. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, complaints, or threats, please let me know. By all means, take your time doing the assignment, look through Brightspace, see how you want to learn. If you are someone who listens by seeing, watch those videos. If you're a person who learns by listening, feel free to turn off the video and just listen to the audio, okay? There's whatever is going to work best for you. And I'll do my best to provide you visual learners with as many things as I possibly can. There's not a whole lot in philosophy and in rhetoric, and that is not abstract, so it's hard to put a picture with it. But you will notice that there's a paper rubric. That rubric, that's my grading rubric for both of your papers. You've got 2 in this class. My exams, I've already explained to you how those work. Those are basically your assignments. You have a couple of other small assignments. One I told you about already, writing, just telling me what your thoughts are on rhetoric, very small assignment. And the other is during the course of the semester, I would like to see a presentation, either record a video or put up a slideshow or however you want to do it, some sort of creative presentation on one of the theorists in the class. You can pick the theorist. You can do it whenever you want. I will have it available for you to post on. I'm probably going to try to do like a discussion board or something because I'd like everybody to learn from these. It's just an interesting facts assignment. Pick a theorist, go find out interesting stuff about them. You don't need to reiterate their philosophy. You don't need to tell us what we're going to learn in the book. We don't need that. I want to know interesting things. So you're going to use pop culture references, right? Like you're going to, for example, Cicero had a Twitter at one time. I don't know if he still does or not. Obviously, it's not him, but you get the idea. Like those kinds of cool, fun things that we won't talk about in class, most likely, or that you won't read about necessarily. Kenneth Burke was an alcoholic who married his wife's sister, was raised Catholic. Interesting stuff that we may or may not get to address in the class. I want you to spend 2 to 4 minutes or a, 10 to 12 slide presentation telling us interesting things about a theorist. You get to pick whoever you want. And no, I don't care if more than one person picks the same theorist, because I don't think you're going to be telling us exactly the same thing. So think about that assignment during the course of the semester. Do it when you want. If you want to do it this week, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and try to find out where I can have you guys post it so that everyone in the class can see it. I'm not sure if I'll succeed at that, but you'll have a place to put it no matter what. You'll have a way to do that assignment this afternoon. So do it on your own time, not due until, the last day of classes. So if you're a procrastinator, sorry. If you're not a procrastinator and you're just like, I'm just going to get this done, do it. More instructions will be available online here in a few minutes when I put up the assignment. All right, everybody, that's all I'm going to talk about today. Let's meet back again on Wednesday when hopefully I'll have a lecture from the classroom that's a little bit less formalized, a little more interesting, and hopefully it works. Let's wish ourselves all luck, and I know you're going to do well this semester, so looking forward to it. Talk to you soon.